Hello and welcome to the GGuard Challenge here on GosuTV1. This is going to be a best of three series between MVP Hot6 and GGuard themselves. So how this is going to work is throughout the week and throughout the next couple days after that, GGuard are going to be playing against different teams, and if they win this best of three, they get a pretty cool $500 for just showing up to one series. It's a pretty sweet deal. For either side, I have no idea what GGuard get if they win. They probably just get a pat on their back from their manager. Either way, I'm GrandisV. I'm going to be joined by the magnificent Danelie as we go through this series. How are you doing?
Magnificent. I think that's a little over the top, but well, handy dandy partner sounds all right. Um, so I've been able to cast all of the G-Guard series so far, and G-Guard, they've been pretty strong as a team. They've kept up aggression. I want to say they maintained very little passivity throughout the games, except for times when you could tell that they were a little bit indecisive as to whether they wanted to go up high ground or not. But G-Guard, they're showing a lot of strength in this series, whereas I haven't actually seen too many MVP Hot 6 games. They haven't really played together that much. I believe Jerax is their newly acquired player, is always Finnish, I believe. But I hear he's a really good player. I have no idea.
Yeah, he's actually one of my favorite players to watch. I
Oh, is
love his
he?
stream. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. But I actually
Is
haven't seen
he?
him play on MVP Hot 6, so it's going to be a new experience for me as well.
I think I remember him. He was the guy that would play Earth Spirit and only Earth Spirit. That's what I heard anyway. People when they spoke about Jerax, I was like, oh, Jerax is that crappy Earth Spirit spammer. Blah. I'm not too sure. I've never seen it before, so I can't really judge him as a player. This will be a first experience for me in seeing him in action.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, we'll start off this draft with Queen of Pain and Storm Spirit banned by MVP Hot 6, and GGuard will take out the Omnipresent Troll and Sniper. First pick Zeus for MVP, and Chen first pick for GGuard.
Okay, so this is interesting. This will be the first time that G-Guard has picked up Chen in this G-Guard Challenge series. It's very interesting as well. Normally when you see a Chen pick, it's going to be a Shadow Fiend pick somewhere along the lines. Because a lot of teams, they love to draft the Chen as well as the Shadow Fiend because, oh dear, I'm actually... Okay, sorry about that. But Chen and Shadow Fiend together, they have a lot of synergy. You've got the Shadow Fiend with the massive damage outburst, plus the negative armor aura really works with the Chen creeps so that the Chen can stay relevant in the game. Because Chen is a hero, he's great during the early game. He's got a lot of sustain for your team with the Hand of God plus the incoming mechanism. But as the game goes later, Chen really falls off in terms of utility and usability. So we'll see if G-Guard goes in the direction of the Chen plus Shadow Fiend combo, or if they want to go in a slightly different route.
Yeah, definitely so. And Shadow Fiend against a presumed Zeus matchup would be a solid pick for GGuard. For the time being, they're going to pick up a Clockwork, filling up their offlane role, and already they have some heroes that can make things happen, especially at the early portion of the game. But it is something to keep in mind that they don't have very good scaling damage, so we'll have to see how they patch that up later on. MVP for the time being, probably just going to pick up another one of their supports at the moment, and well, there is still some ambiguity whether or not they're going to lane this Zeus as a support, but they're going to go ahead and pick up the Batrider. Since they are the last pick in this first stage, they don't have to worry about Vengeful Spirit, especially if they ban it out here.
I can't help but feel like because MVP Hot 6 has picked up the Batrider, if they don't ban the Vengeful Spirit, then they probably have a lot of confidence in their Batrider player. They're hoping that he's able to get around the map, away from the Vengeful Spirit, just go for those really sweet spot lassos where the Venge will not be nearby, and then maybe they'll be fine with it because G-Guard, they decide to go for a Wisp ban first instead of the Venge ban. If it's not a Venge ban, then they're actually not concerned with the Batrider. They might have something else in mind to lock him down. A couple of other soft counters to Batrider is, for example, the Lion with the Hex. If the Lion is on par with his attention, just Hex up the Bat. He's going to be pretty much a fish because every Lion nowadays has the fish stick. And the Batrider would be a pretty easy pick. MVP Hot 6, though, they ban out the Shadow Fiend, so no Chen Shadow Fiend. I'm sad. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent direction for MVP Hot 6 to go in. At the moment, I bet you they're considering the Vengeful Spirit banned for themselves since GGuard do have first pick in the second stage, but instead they'll settle on a Juggernaut. Scared of some early push coming out from Healing Ward and a bunch of Chen creeps, it is definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, the Healing Ward's so good with the Chen creeps. Remember a couple of patches ago when Lone Druid used to be the hero, where you would always see the Lone Druid. Juggernaut and Lone Druid are the most monstrous base pushes I have ever seen. You just send the bear in, have the bear whack the tower a couple of times, even if it's going to be hurt, you just have the Juggernaut healing ward to heal it back up. So I find that the Juggernaut is a much sweeter ban than the Vengeful Spirit. Yes, Venge is going to be a hero to counter out the Bat Rider, but when you're going up against the kind of draft that GGuard has, when GGuard's going to be going up high ground, it'll be very difficult for MVP Hot6 to really defend it unless they have something that's really good at wave clear. Bat and Zeus are pretty good at it, but having the healing ward plus Chen creeps will be a nightmare. Vengeful Spirit, they're going to be snagged up by GGuard, so they're not going to give any sort of Venge to MVP Hot6, but Lina will be the counter pick. So there is a little bit of damage, I suppose. Sorry, there's going to be some more damage going in the way of MVP. They've got a Zeus now, plus a Lina. Are they going to go in a magical base lineup, or are they going to go towards some physical right-click damage? We're not
I'd
too
expect
sure.
them to patch it up with some amount of scaling damage later on, but Lina does do a decent amount by herself. I think the most interesting thing here is that one of these heroes, although usually they're both played as core, is going to be bumped in that support role, probably the Zeus.
Yeah, probably. A lot of teams, they just love to run the Zeus in the support position, because think about it, Zeus is a support, he's a free walking sentry. As long as you know where to go for the D wards, you don't have to buy anything in sentry wards, and it really helps your supports when you don't have to invest in that 200 gold sentry ward. So they could go for the support Zeus, or it could be a core Zeus and it could be a support Lina. We've seen both heroes just been run in both directions. I've seen off-lane Zeus, very quirky. It does work though if you can have your other heroes create space for the Zeus to eventually get farm, because Zeus without farm is pretty abysmal. He can provide a little bit of nukage, but he needs those levels. He's so good with those levels. If you can grab levels on the Zeus, then he is going to snowball out of control. GGuard though, they're going to go for a Viper, which I feel like it's a great pick, especially against this magic-oriented draft so far from MVP Hot6. The corrosive skin magic resistance is going to be so useful if MVP tries to burst down the Viper, which typically you don't want to happen. But if there are going to be any sort of gank rotations coming up from MVP, then you would rather have your Viper or your Clockwork really tank up the damage. Your Venge and Chen, they're going to have to sit in the back lines, or they just have to not be caught by these ganks, which you can't really guarantee. Depends on the rotations of not just GGuard, but also MVP when they decide to go for the smoke gank. So I like the Viper pick. It means they're going to have a mechanism on the Viper maybe, or maybe he's just going to be the frontliner DPS that can really sustain as well by himself.
Yeah, if they do opt for the mechanism on the Viper, that would free up Chen to go for maybe even an earlier Aghanim Scepter, which could be pretty cool. Although I think it's unlikely that Zeus is going to be in the off lane by himself. Once Batrider goes off to clear his stacks, there could be some room in MVP's draft, or rather just in their lanes to give some experience to Zeus there. Phantom Lancer going to pick up for MVP Hot6. And at the moment, GGuard's ability to actually clear out those illusions is almost completely moot. Once he gets his Diffusal Blade, he'll be completely battle ready. Although maybe not doing that much damage to the Viper, assassinating the Venge and the Chen on the backlines is pretty easy. And also PL doesn't really mind getting cogsed in by Clockwork because of Doppelganger, excuse me.
I look at the PL pick and I can't help but feel like GGuard just wasn't expecting the PL in general. You look at their draft, they've got very minimal wave clear, they've got a lot of single target heroes, so they're going to have to deal with this Phantom Lancer early while he is still squishy. Once he gets really big, they're going to have a lot of difficulty trying to distinguish the real Phantom Lancer and that pesky 100% damage incoming illusion thingy that you get with the Doppelwalk. So this is a very, very strong pick coming out from MVP Hot6, but they're going to have to try and finalize their draft with something that can sit in the front lines. Because if you look at their heroes so far, they've got Zeus, they've got Lina, they've got Batrider. They've got two massive nuking heroes, plus their Initiator, who cannot afford to be jumped on by anyone on GGuard, because a Batrider is very squishy. He's an intelligence hero. He doesn't really benefit from the strength gain of strength items as much as other heroes. Yes, he'll get the HP, but he won't get any other bonuses from it. So MVP, if they're not going to go for something tanky, then they're going to have to go for a burst lineup to really burst down GGuard's heroes, and from there on try and grab an advantage from the additional hero that they would have compared to the one less on GGuard.
Yeah, at the moment, MVP Hot6 might find it difficult to fill in their lineup with that tanky initiator, or tanky frontline rather. They're lacking presumably a support to pair with the Zeus, and that usually means you have to get a pretty strong laning support, as Zeus really just doesn't fill that role very well. As a support, he relies almost exclusively on getting pull experience, and it's not really until level 5 that he completely comes online, so Well, then let's see what's there for MVP Hot6. It's a pretty interesting dynamic when it comes to both of these drafts. It kind of feels like GGuard's lineup is a little bit more self-contained and their direction's a little bit more together, but MVP Hot6's power level of their heroes individually is probably a little bit better.
Ooh.
Next pickup for GGuard, it's going to be a Tiny already, some reaction there.
I wasn't expecting a Tiny. We very rarely see Tiny as a hero by himself, because normally Tiny, if there's a Tiny, there's a Wisp. But there's no Wisp this game. But I don't actually think it's a bad idea for the Tiny. He's going to be such a great hero up against the Phantom Lancer once he gets the Ags. Then he's going to have the really nice cleave. He's got massive base damage as well. So before this PL actually gets big, his illusions are probably just going to get one shot by the Tiny. And also Tiny, he's a carry that he can provide things to his team. He has a stun, he has the toss if necessary to reposition heroes or just to pretty much finish anyone off. So I don't have an issue with this Tiny pick. If you look at GGuard, they only have, you could say, 2 heroes that really have any sort of disable. Having the Tiny on top of that, I feel like it's GGuard's really well rounded off with that last pick Tiny. I have no problems with their draft. It's not greedy, it's not a linear draft. They can really do anything with this.
And last pickup for MVP Hot6 is going to be a puck for them. But yeah, as you said, Tiny, usually if he's not partnered with the IO, he's stuck with a Troll, but GGuard have plenty of ways to buff up his damage. With a Vengeful Spirit Aura and some auras from the Chen Creeps, that extra attack speed from a Hellbear, or maybe even an Alpha Wolf, Tiny can be doing a lot, even without having that overcharge attack speed and damage reduction, which we're very used to seeing. Yeah, an interesting last pick for sure, but as you said, I think GGuard's lineup is a little bit more self-contained, a little bit more tight than MVP Hot6. They're probably going to have to outplay GGuard, I want to say, if they're just allowed to play their game. Their game plan looks really strong.
Yeah, I think, I want to be honest, I'm going to give both teams a chance, because if you look at their drafts, any team can take this game. MVP Hot6, if they can snowball during the laning phase, they can definitely start really rolling over GGuard, whereas the same can be done with GGuard. If GGuard can win their lanes, or if they can just dominate at least 2 of the lanes and start snowballing from that point on, then MVP is going to they're pretty much going to be on the back foot. I think MVP, though, they have the slightly weaker draft. They have a lot of initiation and burst, but they don't have the sustain if these fights go on for a little bit longer than their spells allow it. So MVP, their job this game, go into those lanes, get those levels, get those items. When they start fighting, they have to burst through these tanky heroes and GGuard. They've got to go through a Tiny, they have to go through a Viper, they've got to go through a Clockwork. They can do it, but they need the tools for it first, which is what MVP has to do. GGuard, on the other hand, same thing could be really said with them. Just get their levels, try and stay even during the laning phase. Even if they lose, they are going to still be relatively strong. So from that point on, they're just going to have to rely on what they have, because they have very, very, very tanky frontline heroes that can sustain if they can survive through the initial burst from MVP.
Quick run through of the team's lineups. GGuard on the Radiant side, Nek going to be playing on the Venge, Ling on the Chen, supporting Viper by Ben, and a Tiny by Yamate. Offlane Clockwork is going to be played by Winter as we look at these bounty runes.
Okay, so on the side of MVP Hot6, we have Sunbee on our Phantom Lancer. Jerax is going to be handling the Lina. MP on our Puck, who is going to run into Winter. Down towards the mid lane, we have Heen on our Zeus. And lastly, in the off lane, we're going to have Forev playing on our Batrider.
Yeah, pretty interesting lane assignments. At least for the time being, I'd expect the Zeus to be support and just block for the puck. As he got the bounty rune, he's going to be really happy about his mid lane matchup, but then again, the Tiny also got the bounty, and Yamate is rushing towards the bottle a little bit faster. I like that Tiny starts off with a stout shield and doesn't straight up go for it. The range to harass from a puck is always really annoying. I think it's pretty interesting that GGuard actually go for this lane assignment in particular, as I think that Viper would have a better time against the puck, and Tiny, although Batrider is a nuisance, it wouldn't shut down his farm.
Yeah, I don't actually feel like this is a bad thing, but I feel like they just want to shut down Forev on the Batrider. Actually, they're going to go for a stun onto Forev. He should be able to get out. Just going to pop the Firefly to make sure he can really go through those trees. He is down at 200 HP, and well, we have Net there just guarding the lane saying, "You shall not pass." So he's going to be a little bit sad, but he does have some regen to fall back onto. But Yamate in the mid lane, though, he's copying quite a bit of harassment from the puck, so MP already on the job, but well, we have a Wildwing Ripper going through with the Tornado, the mini Cyclone going onto our poor little puck, so that's going to be a bit of rough wind, I suppose, there for the puck. Oh god, look at that HP!
Yeah, really annoying. This extra help is going to be really nice for the Tiny. The other big benefit of going for the Tiny mid is that it is going to get Yamate towards level 8 and 9 faster, so he can get his burst combo maxed out very early on. Maybe they want him to get active around the map a little bit faster than a safe lane Tiny would. So, yeah, for the time being, these lanes are looking fairly even. The Phantom Lancer's getting no pressure applied by the Clockwork, but, and again, the Clockwork's still getting experience. Winter, although he's getting zoned by Jerix, will still be able to contribute, and if Jerix gets a little too comfortable, could end up getting caught out. Lightstruck Array going to land onto Winter, and Jerix will continue his zoning duties.
Man, it's so annoying to go up against a support Lina. The range on her is absurd. 670 range. It's quite difficult to really stay out of range of those Lina right clicks, and especially when you're running a Clockwork, a melee hero. Actually, he's going to be coxed up by Winter, but unfortunately, he's not going to deny the bounty rune or push out Jarek. So that's going to be the Actually, there was a what rune did he actually pick up? Sorry, bounty rune going to be picked up by Durax. So Winter is going to be sad for a little bit longer. He would have liked to pick it up so that he would have been able to pick up his bottle sooner, but things are happening. Durax doing pretty well in this support, keeping Winter out of the lane. And we actually saw some cute play coming out from Forov on the Batrider. He just popped his Firefly and he just went through this whole jungle section here. And unfortunately for the Vengeful Spirit, obviously you don't want to run into the Firefly, so he just kind of stood on the outskirts just waiting for it to run out. Once the Firefly popped, then that's where the Batrider is saying, okay, after TP, I'm in trouble. I'm in enemy territory.
Yeah, even though the Batrider was able to survive there, he's forced out of lane at only level 1, and really it's not until level 2 that you can comfortably take stacks, so he's going to go ahead and pull for the team in order to get to that mark. They'll drop the Zeus down towards bottom, but I don't expect Heen's going to have any different outcome on this lane that Forev did. He might be able to soak experience here and there when the lane's pushing in, but when it's not, he's at an innate state of danger right now. It's a level 1 Zeus with no boots, incredibly slow. If he gets tagged by Poison Tech, probably will die. For the time being, the Chen and the Venge have been pretty static in their lane situations, just zoning out the offlaners, but now that we have a smoke on the Chen, a handful of pretty good creeps, Centaur and Hellbear is a good ganking duo, as well as having Net with the boots first. They're probably going to look to make something happen. The question is where.
Yeah, with these two creeps, they're bound to get a kill. And with the extra stun coming out from Net, I actually don't think anyone on MVP would be able to survive unless it's maybe the Phantom Lancer or the Puck. Anyone else that gets caught out, they are going to be dead meat. But we have Net on the high ground. MP's going to pick up the rune that's going to spawn in about 5 seconds. But he's kind of going back into the mid lane. So Net as well as Ling, they're going to come right around the rune. They're not going to pick it up. They want to go up top instead. They've got eyes set on Lina or Sunbeam on the PL. And Lina's going to be such an easy pick. Well, they go for it though. Net's going to pick up the bounty rune for himself. So I think MP should know that something's up in that top lane. He's got to say, okay, our team did not pick up that rune. Where did that rune actually go? And it looks like Durax for the moment, he's trying to go for a bit of a pull back into the secret shop. And he's just going to pick something up. He will go back into the jungle there, but he's going to run into trouble. Winter, he's going to be there. There's a stun coming out from Net. I miss out first blood, though. I did not see the Zeus die. We're going to see a secondary kill up in this top lane, so that's going to be Durax going down. Where did our Zeus go? Oh my god, right behind the T1 tower.
Ben, left alone, even by himself, can very easily get those kills. Clockwork gets sniped in the backlines by a Spirit Lance coming out from Sinbi. In the end, it's a 1-for-2 trade. MVP are going to be able to get that retaliation, however. Ling is still sticking around, going to drop a blast from the Satyr into Sinbi. Not going to be near enough damage, however, and there's no follow-up in order to get that kill. But regardless, GGuard still come out on top since they do get the first blood on the Viper. And really not a gank that MVP was necessarily expecting. The Lina walks right back into it. It's not the most intuitive thing to do. Smoking up inside your own jungle and then going for the safe lane. Usually you throw that gank towards mid, but
Yeah.
MP... Although maybe he was being forced to play a little bit more defensively, it still ends up working okay for MVP. The big issue is that Viper did get that first blood. Now he's unstoppable. He's level 6. Nobody can come down to this lane alone.
Well, he's actually going to pick up a Hand of Midas very shortly. He's pulling up 1.2k gold, and he has a Glove of Haste, so you know what's going to be happening in a moment. So Ben's going to go for a little bit of a greedier Viper. I have no issues with this. They have no one contesting him in the bottom lane, so he's going to get uncontested farm plus whatever the Hand of Midas is going to bring him, and that means that Ben's going to come into fighting form a little bit quicker than he normally would if he didn't have the Hand of Midas. I feel like The Viper, he's going to go for aggressive items. He's not going to buy any of those defensive, quick teamfight items. He's going to leave it to the Chen. He's going to leave it to the Vengeful Spirit. And you could say even Winter on the Clockwork. For the moment, Ben as well as Yamate, their goals is to just finish up items that can get them in the fight so that they can throw out their damage. In particular for Yamate, I think he's going to go for a Blink Dagger first, just so he can jump in there, just throw the Avalanche Toss combo on anybody on the side of MVP who's isolated or by themselves or pretty much in the, I don't know, you could say whatever I just said. Whereas Ben, I think he could rush an Aghanims if he really wants to. Actually, he's got something coming on the courier right now. It's, oh, he's going for a point boost. Sorry, a vitality booster. Alrighty then, so he's finishing up turrets and a vitality booster. What does he make with a vitality booster?
I want to say Crimson Guard, actually. Up against MVP's lineup and against the Phantom Lancer could be a decent item choice for him. It gives you the same 50 damage block regardless when activated for ranged and melee. It wouldn't be a terrible choice. Or it could just be casual, finish into a heart later on. Regardless, he's really tanky. With that Vitality Booster and Power Treads, he's going to be sitting on a large chunk of HP. Nat and Ling are looking for a kill, but there's none to be had up towards top. They'll probably turn this into a straight push of the tier 1 tower there. As MP going to look for a D-ward, Yamate going to promptly deny that one away from the enemy team. 50 gold lost there. But yeah, I don't expect GGuard to actually get anything with this kill unless the Zeus walks up the hill. Oh no, he's going to rock right into a Hornet's nest. And, well, Hornets, I mean Dark Troll Summoners. Net 1, Net 2, they probably don't even need the magic missiles. That's a huge test of faith. They'll be able to bring him down. Now Forev coming in, they'll TP in the Lina as well. And let's see if they can catch somebody on the retreat. Ling trying to run over towards the sidelines. Jukes the Light Striker array by turning so darn slow. 3 stacks of the Napalm. They won't be able to get that kill as the puck comes in from the left-hand side with a haste rune. MP going to drop his nuke into Ling with 4 stacks. There's nowhere to run. Now the Viper joining the fray as Ben drops the ultimate into MP. He's netted down. Can't actually phase shift when you're netted. So the puck is going to end up dying in turn for GGuard's Chen. In the end, that favors them pretty heavily. Magic Missile into the Zeus, but that ends up not getting them a kill as everything dissipates.
Wow, that was a very strange turn of events in the MVP jungle. And man, look at these Dark Soul Summoners. They're just going to keep Jerax in place. And Yamate, he's got an invisibility rune. Jerax doesn't know about this, I don't think so, but he's going to back up. Or you better get behind that tower, my friend. Do not come anywhere into your own jungle. It is not safe. I feel like MVP, the only reason they're backing out is they see those the Dark Soul Summoners, Dark Troll Summoners, and they're saying, okay, those trolls, they should not be there. There's probably something waiting for us. They're just going to go back into their base and just kind of figure out how they're going to recover at this point. Because if you think about it, their Phantom Lancer, he's up top. He's going to grab a tower for them, so even though MVP lost a couple of heroes and they're going to lose their own T1 tower, they should be able to get a counter tower with Sunbee here, unless somebody on GGuard wants to make a defense. The tower is sitting at about 200 HP, so not in deny range. I actually see something in the middle lane. Oh god, Jirax's going to go down, but Winter's pretty low. There's going to be the lasso thrown onto Yamate, so it looks like the Tiny will go down in the end, unfortunately. So Alina for a Tiny trade-off, not in favor of GGuard in the least.
Yeah, for sure, and left alone, the Batrider's been jungling it out forever after having a pretty subpar early game, especially in the offlane proper, is now almost at his Blink Dagger. It's sub 10 minutes in. It's a respectable time for Forev, and we'll have to see what MVP are going to do with it. The biggest difference is that MVP are getting farm on a Phantom Lancer and GGuard are getting farm on a Viper, and it looks like it is going to be a Crimson Guard after all for Ben, but regardless, they're not playing aggressive with it yet, although they probably will in the near future. MVP are going to be more happy with the status quo as their heroes probably scale a little bit better with items. The Chen's mechanism is going to be here shortly, and once they have the mech and the Crimson Guard, that's when GGuard really need to make pushes happen.
Yeah, there is actually a good thing for GGuard at the moment, though. The 2 supports on the side of MVP, they aren't level 6 yet. They're still stuck at around level 4, so they're not going to be working at full capacity as of yet, because you want that Laguna Blade and you want that Thunder God's Wrath to come online as soon as possible for MVP. The only issue is that, unfortunately, no one's going to really be able to go for any soak down the bottom lane just because they're so worried about that Chen rotating in from the jungle. So MVP, they're kind of isolated to 2 lanes, which is going to be the mid lane and the top lane, although no one's up top because Ben's starting to whack on the tower and we've got Yamate backdooring those creeps and nobody on MVP wants to contest them because they're saying, okay, you can take that, we're going to try and find things elsewhere. So Forev and Jirax smoke down in the bottom lane, but no one's going to really be in the lane. If they keep going into the jungle, they might find net, but that's going to be about it. But never mind, they're going to go right behind the tower. They're hoping someone's there, but they're not going to be rewarded anytime soon. And the tower's going to go down. Yep.
Yeah. Tiny will get the tower destruction, probably with just a right click there. That'll secure his Blink Dagger. So no, they also have some pretty significant ways to start fights. GGuard are in fit fighting shape, and the Phantom Lancer is, and he was dropped pretty low with that tower defense, but survives, and he's going to be on his way towards his Diffusal Blade. More than halfway there. A lot of agility on him now with 2 Blades of Alacrity and a Yasha. GGuard are going to continue to snowball in mid as they'll just plunk Ben on this tier 1 tower. There's not much that they can do to stop this Viper.
Yeah, they really don't have anyone to just soak up the damage from the Viper. They don't have any frontliner to really contest Ben when it comes to those one-on-one right clicks, and even Yamate. Like, if you look at MVP, they're all ranged heroes except for the PL, but you don't want your PL fighting yet. He's still squishy. He's only sitting at 900 HP. Yes, he has Doppelwalk. Actually, Hookshot going to be connecting onto 4F. I don't know how Winter had vision of that, but that's with the toss to cancel at the TP, and well, that's going to be a very dead Batrider. TP out for Yamate. He's going to go back to the fountain, whereas... well, they got their objective, but down bottom, though, MVP trying to find their own tower, but they've got heroes that push towers so slowly, and they still haven't been able to get it. They've got to wait till the next creep wave, but never mind. TP in, and Ben's there for the defense.
Yeah, let's see how this goes. Jerix is still sitting around, but yeah, that hookshot was really nice by Winter. This ward spotted out the back going into that corner, and it was just a really slick initiation. GGuard find themselves with an easy kill, and with the blink follow-up from Tiny, they're doing quite a lot of damage. That full burst combo from Tiny is really brutal when it catches out the enemy hero by himself. They'll rotate down towards mid, and GGuard can keep up this aggression. After going for the Vanguard, Ben's going to back off for an Ogre Club, maybe going for a BKB or something of the like, but regardless what it's going to be, Viper is incredibly hard to deal with for MVP. It's pretty interesting to see Vanguard picked up on Viper. It's a pretty old school pickup, but regardless, the snowball continues. GGuard aren't stopping for anybody.
Yeah, that's surprising they go for an Ogre Club, though. I have a feeling that he doesn't have to go for a BKB this game if he doesn't want to. Maybe he's gone for something like a Sanj and Yasha, so that he's a little bit tankier, can move quicker, and that he also has the potential slow. But think about it, though. He has a slow anyway with the poison attack, so I don't know if Ben wants to go in the direction of a BKB. I guess he could, just so that there's nothing on the side of MVP that they could really do aside from lasso him, but even if they lasso, they've got nothing that can really do any sort of damage through the BKB. But we do have a big item pickup on the side of MVP, which is going to be the Diffusal Blade onto Sunby. So that means that if GGuard have any heroes that are caught out, they can definitely kill it though with the PL. I just missed the kill up top. Winter getting that hook shot onto the poor Zeus, and what can he do? He's just a level 6 Zeus.
Yeah, unfortunately there's nothing, and they're not going to stop here. They're going to go straight up high ground. They have a Mud Golem on the front lines. As awkward as it looks, there's no way that they can actually clear this thing out. They'll throw as many nukes as they want. He's Magic Immune. Blink into the base. Yamate going to get the toss and avalanche onto GRX. Blows him sky high. Yamate with the DD rune. Swap back by Nat going to get Yamate out to safety as they'll send him back to base. Blinking for the puck. Gets the silence and the orb through, but Nat doesn't even drop. Yamate going to drop a toss before they fall back, but GGuard, they got a kill. They got some tier 3 tower damage, but in the meantime, Phantom Lancer's pushing up towards top. They need to deal with Sunbi sooner rather than later.
Oh my god. They threw the Thunderbolt at Ben, but he took no damage, and he gets a counter kill on the Batrider. So MVP, they can't do anything to the Viper. They thought they could try and grab a kill on the Viper, but that's not quite the case. You're going up against an incredibly tanky hero, 1.5k HP, 14 minutes into the game. He's got roughly 100 HP per minute this game. So if this just keeps going on, he's going to get so tanky. And what can MVP do? They just don't have any scaling damage aside from their Phantom Lancer.
And he hasn't really joined fights. He's been doing his best to split push, and for the time being, it's favoring them. But Ben continues to sit on the high ground. Tier 3 tower is going to fall sooner rather than later, and that's not even taking into consideration the Vanguard damage block, the extra reduction from Corrosive Skin. This guy is super tanky. Tier 3 towers ending up falling down. MVP have been forced to pull back their Phantom Lancer, at least for a time being. He can't replicate that damage. The tower trade is in favor of GGuard. They're committing to melee barracks. They dropped his Zeus ultimate, but that hardly tickles Ben. The loser orc going to fly through as well. The blink in silence. And, well, Viper just going to casually walk that one off. They probably need to pull back for the time being, but no matter what this Ogre Club is for Viper, if he picks up an Aghanim Scepter, he's going to be really hard for MVP to deal with. And, I don't know, at the moment, GGuard, they need to keep up this momentum, but the momentum is in their court, so we'll just have to see. 5,000 net worth advantage towards them. Experience is close to leveled out, but that's the risk of going for these 5-man pushes.
Yeah, it's basically equalized just because the Phantom Lancer Sunby was constantly in that top lane. So even though MVP they had to defend with their 4 heroes, they were getting EXP elsewhere, and it's on their core hero, that PL. This PL has to come online as soon as possible. He can't afford to really go for those split pushes as much as he would like to. His team needs him for these kills. GGuard, they're so tanky. MVP, they're relying on so much magical burst, and your magical burst is going to cap out eventually. Unfortunately, one of your main, you could say both of MVP's main nukers are supports. They're not core heroes. You've put a puck into that core position. That was a very good blink coming up from MP, though. That was so close. If he got caught by that combo by Yamate, he would have been, well, a blue puddle.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're just not getting enough XP on the Lina and Zeus to really get them to their full potential. It's why we see them usually played in the mid-roll. When they get to like level 11 at this point, they're an absolute menace, but just a level 6 Lina generally turns out to be food for Ben and the Tiny, and heck, even the Clockwork. That last hook shot was really hopeful by Winter, but regardless, it's still looking alright for them. They'll continue the snowball in mid. Tier 2 tower is going to fall there. They have to deal with the Puck and Phantom Lancer up towards top, but their tower damage really pales in comparison to G-Guard's, with just the raw amount of bodies that they can throw at the enemy team. Blink over the sidelines, Yamate picks up his point booster, and although it's not going to be the fastest Ags, in the draft you kind of already touched on it, it's going to be pretty good this game for clearing out Phantom Lancer illusions, and just in general a great item. Yamate going to be sent back to base as they poke their heads into the Roshan pit. Even without their Tiny, they can take this with so much meat to throw at them with all of the Chen creeps. Medallion dropped on the floor. Zeus is going to scout it out with the ulti. Can they contest though? Batrider potentially looking for an initiation.
Yeah, well, I think I am disconnecting.
Either way, we'll start a fight as Ferev gets hookshotted in by Winter with the battery assault and magic missile fall. Ferev is going to drop down. Whether he's looking for an initiation or not is irrelevant. Tiny's dealt with the push up towards top as Phantom Lancer joins the fray with the diffusal blade, drains Winter dry, but Mechanism is going to keep him up. A Dragon Slave flies through the majority of them. Phantom Lancer still trying to fight, but there's nothing he can do about the Viper. They're chasing the wrong illusion. They net down the 100% HP one, and the Phantom Lancer still going to town. He's going to end up killing off the sports on the backlines. Beautifully baited by him. Jumping in, the Tiny's going to be able to get the Avatos onto MP. MP dropping low. Yamate going to get Light Strike arrayed up as Soonbi drops another Phantom Lance into him, but Ben's still standing strong. Will be able to kill off Yamate. He's still sitting on a little bit of mana, and that's going to take a lot of damage over towards him. One more Lance from Soonbi. Double kill for the Phantom Lancer, and now the Viper chasing for a little bit more. Ben's standing, but he's standing alone, currently against 3 of the enemy heroes, but MVP decide that they can't take that fight, and fair enough too. It's a 2-for-4 trade as Viper is not going to be able to go back in that Roche pit. He's too healthy.
I did not actually get to see that fight because my internet decided to spaz out, but what a good fight for MVP. They grabbed 4 heroes. Yes, they lose 3, but they actually managed to grab a lot of gold as well as EXP out of the fight. That was a 1.3k gold swing in favor of MVP. They managed to get about 3.8k EXP, whereas GGuard, they got a lot on their Viper though. No one else really managed to grab it just because they all died, but what a turnaround for MVP. They looked like they were going to be on the back foot for the majority of the game, and then all of a sudden they have such a good team fight. And now they're going to get these core items on these heroes. In particular, the Phantom Lancer. He's finished up a Manta style. So this means that even though GGuard might come up with, for example, a Silence, or even the projectile stun coming up from the Vengeful Spirit, he's going to be able to avoid it with the Manta style, which is going to be so key in some of these fights. Again, another Roshan attempt coming out from GGuard. Now, I don't think MVP is going to defend it because they are a little bit too out of position, although they are smoked and they're making a beeline for it. Will they get there in time, though? I see a hookshot there. They're going to jump onto the puck. He's going to pretty much miss a lot of the damage, but they will finish him up with Yamate. But this Roche, though, they're already in the Roche pit. Ben, he's going to get caught out by Forum. They're going to use a Laguna Blade, but did he even take any damage from that? He didn't, and he's going to get sent home! Oh my god, Ben, he's still alive, but looks like the Roche is going to go in the way of MVP. Never mind, Yamate's going to go for the Avalanche as well. Tosso gets the Aegis as well. GGuard, some of the plays are coming through. That's going to be the Tiny going down. And Net, he was going to be alive for a little bit longer, but he does end up going down. This is a fresh Yamate, level 11, full HP, full mana, and unfortunately MVP, they almost had the Roche, but holy crap, some of those plays. Actually, we have MP trying to go for a turnaround onto our Chen here, but unfortunately he's a little bit too tanky, and Ben, he gets another counter kill, and this time it's going to be onto Jerax, the Lina, who went down south. I'm not too sure why, but probably just trying to get out of there with a TP, but not quite so. Oh my god, that was a buyback as well from the puck too.
Yeah, and they even get the Roche last hit GGuard. Yamate snipes everything, and even though he uses the Aegis immediately, that fight still goes pretty darn well for them. This time around, the Phantom Lancer wasn't able to bait them out with the Doppelganger illusion like he did in the first time, which was really crucial in that first Roshan defense. If they actually focused on the Phantom Lancer proper the first time around, things would have gone disastrously. MVP are going to have their full 5-man lineup for this defensive high ground, and maybe GGuard decide to back off, but regardless, it's still a great fight for them. 2,000 gold now up on the Viper. Ben can go for pretty much whatever he likes, and we're almost at the Aghanim Scepter for Yamate, just about 1,200 gold off.
Yeah, he's so close. And once Yamate has that, he's going to be a right-clicking powerhouse. And, well, that means MVP. They're going to have to try and focus down one of these heroes, but they also have to take into consideration that even though one's down, you're still going to have to deal with the other one. So I feel like MVP, they're going to be conflicted in these fights unless they can somehow isolate one of those core heroes on the side of GGuard. And they also, remember, they have to burst it down before they get sent home. That send back from Ling was beautiful. It saved Ben's life. If he did not have a Chen in his team, then that would have just been a dead Viper, and he would not have been able to come back in that fight.
No, it just took them so long to kill him off, and unfortunately for MVP, there's not much that you can actually do about that. With the BKB on, he literally took no damage from MVP's Lina burst, and really hardly took anything from anybody else. Phantom Lancer even is relying pretty heavily on his magic damage from the Spirit Lances and the Diffusal Blade feedback damage. So regardless, Phantom Lancer is getting pretty darn big for MVP, and the game is by no means won by either side. Let's see how this next fight goes. They're going to bump right into Sunbi. He's going to doppelganger over the sidelines, but still gets stunned up by the Avalanche. He's going to drop the Manta, Magic Missile into the wrong illusion, hookshot into the Chen, swap back. They're going to be able to kill him just the same after a bit of a cluster of a fight, if you can even call it that. Good pick off for GGuard.
Yeah, Winter just giving his teammate a bit of a chest bump there with the hookshot. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe he thought he had the line of sight and then all of a sudden someone just ran in front of him. Because if you take into consideration, GGuard just went up there as a clump. They didn't really spread out. They're just saying, okay, just stay together. We can grab the kill. He can't really go anywhere. Doppelborg's range is not that far. So they do get the kill on the PL, which is very nice. It's the most important hero on MVP. The MVP, they're trying to farm up as much on the PL because he is pretty much their only source of late game damage, you can say. So losing him, it really hurts MVP. It means I have to find farm elsewhere, but the farm on these other heroes, it's not going to go as far as it would on a PL. I feel like they're going to have to really turn Jerax into a core position Lina this game because they're just not getting enough out of their puck. They're not getting enough out of the Batrider, and the PL is just not online yet. So they really have to emphasize that Jerax as well as Heen on this Zeus, they need farm so that they can become relevant before the PL so that they can make a little bit of space and try and go for their own kills. Because if you look at MVP so far, they're still farming. They're not trying to go for ganks as a team because they're so afraid that GGuard's going to stick together. Because if you look at GGuard's positioning, they're always running around in duos. They're running around in trios. They're never going out by themselves. So it's so hard for MVP to go for a kill unless they commit 3 to 4 bodies for it.
But is it too late for Heen and Jerax? At the moment, they can't comfortably farm out alone, and really I don't think there's space on this map if they have the PL farming. MVP, it's going to take a couple of turn fights if they actually want to get any semblance of farm onto these heroes. They have 1,000 gold on the Lina, but that's about it. They'll drop a Zeus ultimate for scouting and spot out net and a Chen army in mid, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to make any actions off of this. But really at the moment, this is about all Jerax can do. I'll try to spam out the waves with Dragon Slave to the best of his ability, but right now it's just not working out for him. This supporting... Ooh.
Oh, Bennett just threw one right click and Jerax is like, nope, I'm out of here. Man, the life of Alina, that was so close, but in the middle lane, the Yamate going to try and jump onto our puck, but he will be lassoed in the end by Foreb. Going to keep him in place. They even throw the Dream Coil as well just to keep Yamate in place, but his teammates are going to be coming in very shortly. Winter's going to be going through the tree line. He wanted to throw the hook shot, but he cancels it last minute because no one was there on MVP. They all blinked out.
Chen going to bring in the army, Yamate bottled up, and GGuard are primed and ready to look for a 5-man push. They'll have to deal with Phantom Lancer up towards top, but Sunbi can't push as fast as the 5-man unit of MVP. Let's see how this goes down. Tier 3 tower has since fallen. Every time they've gone, they've mostly committed onto the melee barracks. Let's see where they're going to commit now. Ben's going to just chunk a couple of poison balls at the ranged barracks, and it looks like those are going to drop pretty swiftly. Let's see, who's Chen sending back at the moment? Looks like that was the Tiny. He's going to deal with the Phantom Lancer's split push and now come back with the rest of the team.
Yeah, so this is MVP's chance. They have to keep this defense up. They do have a lot of wave clear, which works in favor for MVP. So they do have something going for them. They're still trying to make space for Sunbi up in the top lane. He's going to send his illusions with the Manta style down into the lane. Yamate's here though, so he's not going to really be able to start chewing on the tower. But think about it though, it also means that there's no Yamate in this bottom lane. So MVP, If they decide to send back the PL when GGuard maybe tries to go up as a 4-man lineup to take the Raxes, then maybe that's where MVP can turn the game around. Because Yamate, for him to join his teammates, he's going to have to TP and walk there. Although he is going to come now, and he's just finished his Ags, so that means that Yamate's really going to start chewing through those towers, and he's probably going to be the one in the front lines as well. They don't have to send Ben forward anymore. It can just be their Tiny. So this is going to be the high ground push coming out from GGuard. How does MVP defend this? They lose their bottom range racks, and they're going to start losing their melee racks unless they want to try and jump onto this. Yamate, they're going to go for the blink forward and toss onto Heen. That's not going to be a Zeus there anymore. And actually, Necrobook has been made onto our Puck. He is going to start throwing them onto the Yamate, but he'll be swapped out. He's fine. And actually, MVP, they really want to jump into these heroes though. Sunbeam kept in place by the Troll, and there's a BKB deployed. And we have a Viper trying to beat down on the Phantom Lancer. There's a Doppelwalk for him. They're going to be kept in place. He tried to go for a lasso onto Ling, but he doesn't even get to finish off the Chen. Sunbeam though, he's in trouble. He's taking a lot of damage. Winter's going to be there with Battery Assault. They get the PL, and he has buyback though, so that's going to be a chance for them. If they want to try and go for the buyback, they have to. They cannot fight without the PL, so he buys back. Will they try and TP into the middle of the fight? No. He's going to run through. He's going to throw the lance onto Ben, and Ben will probably go down here unless they can somehow go for Miracle Play. TP coming out from net. Will he get out though? They will lose a godlike streak. Holy crap. Going in the way of Sunbeam. That is... I feel like even though GGuard took an objective, that's a massive gold streak going in the way of the PL.
Then again, he also had to buy back before, so it is going to mitigate somewhat of the gold that he got. He still gains 1,000 net, so that's nice and all for MVP. But they lost their melee barracks, and that just makes it so much harder for them to go for the defense next time. Lucky enough for them, they have a Phantom Lancer on their team, and Subi can very easily push out these waves. He has boots of travel as well, so it's going to be a lot easier for him to join the fights next time around, but... really, GGuard, their meat on the front lines is just so hard for the enemy team to deal with, and it's not going to get any easier with the Mantis down there coming up for him. Well, Puck over in the meantime, going to get tossed by Yamate, doesn't die immediately. Hoofstomp, a little bit off the mark as Puck is able to blink out of there. Now with the Necro 3, as you mentioned in the previous fight, that's been the item pickup for the Puck, just trying to get any amount of pushing ability that MVP can on the table. This game is by no means over for MVP, but one barracks down, it does get a lot harder.
Yeah, it will be a lot harder, but with the way that MVP, they're building up their Puck, I don't think it's actually going to hinder them too much. They've got a PL who can really clear out the creep wave, they've got a Lina, they've got a Zeus, so there's plenty of wave clear on the side of MVP. It's just the annoying thing is you just have to deal with the constant push of the bottom lane of creeps. So I think for the moment MVP... I kind of like what they're doing at the moment. They're just camping this bottom lane so that the creep wave is never going to meet you could say their base. But it's also going to put them in a very vulnerable position if GGuard wants to go for, you could say, a cute play and come around from this side maybe and try and go for a gank. But they're just going to be sitting around the tower. GGuard, they don't really want to go for any sort of aggressive play. Just play it safe. They know they're ahead. They can just fight MVP head-on if they really want to. And so our Korean squad, they're just going to kind of go back, continue on farming. But I feel like as well, the Necrobook, it's not just for push, but it's also so that the Puck can do, you could say, I don't want to call it indirect damage, but at least the Puck can do some sort of damage while not having to be in the middle of the fights. Because if you look at Puck, he cannot stand anywhere near these GGuard heroes. Yes, he's sitting at 1.2k HP, but he is still a very squishy hero. So with the Necrobook units, you can throw it onto the Tiny, you can throw it onto the Viper. It's going to be doing some damage, and also the mana burn is going to be key on Yamate on the Tiny, because a Tiny without mana, yes, he's still pretty scary with the right clicks, but he's not going to have access to an avalanche. He won't have a toss. And also with the Necro units, it's going to keep on cancelling out the blink dagger. So eventually they want to try and turn Yamate into a sitting duck with it. So I don't find anything wrong with it. It's very different, but I feel like the MVP's building well according to how the game is actually going.
Yeah, GGuard have fallen back since then, and we'll just have to see when they want to go for the next Roshan. They have this Mud Golem that's been spotting out. It's actually pretty fun to see Mud Golems actually dominate, getting some love in this game. Batrider's going to Firefly over the top, doesn't spot anything out, and that's about all she wrote. I believe they spotted out some of the fire. It tipped down, and the Mud Golem spotted it out. Zeus gets hookshotted, bounce back. Heen is now in a bit of a pickle, bounce back again, test of faith, and now they'll be able to right-click him. He doesn't get the Force Staff onto the high ground. And, well, it's pretty easy pick off for GGuard, but as far as heroes that MVP are going to lose, it's probably the least important, but they need everything they can get when it comes to this Roshan defense. Medallion on the deck, and they'll just start wailing away at it.
MVP, they can't contest this. They need their Zeus, and he doesn't even have buyback as well, so it will be a free Roshan going in the way of GGuard, whereas MVP, they're going to just make the best of this time, and they're just going to keep on farming wherever necessary, but Roche went down so quickly, and this might be the chance for GGuard to go for another mega push if they really want to. They've got most of the big items that they really need for this high ground push, so at this point, they're just grabbing luxury items to just help them go onto the high ground. We actually just get an Ags picked up onto Winter on the clockwork. Oh my god, and we're going to see Ancients as well. We've just got Ling picking up his own Aghanim Scepter as well. So he's got, what's he going to steal? Oh god,
the wrong
he's got
rock golem. Oh no.
Oh, the wrong one?
Yeah, he got the little one.
Oh no!
Wait, did he? Yeah, he got the little one. That's too bad.
Oh no, what a shame. Oh man, so that's... Oh, I think they're just going to keep it there. They're just saying, okay,
No,
Ling,
he got the right one. Okay,
Oh, he got the right one.
Now he did.
he
Okay,
just-
it wasn't,
yeah.
and now it is. Okay, there we go. You're confusing the tar out of me, Ling. Okay, let's see. Clockwork up towards the top lane, going to be looking for a hook shot. Puck is not a very easy target to land that hook onto, and doesn't look like anything's going to happen. But now that they have it, that extra aura from the Granite Golem is going to be so annoying on Ben, who's going to be sitting at an extra like 300 HP because of that. Similar amounts for the Tiny. It's pretty crazy how much you can do with that. The Mud Golem was already annoying enough for MVP. There's no way they can actually kill off this Golem unless they commit Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, but oh god, the Golem's still very good for GGuard. They're rocking very tanky heroes, so the aura is going to be so good. It's going to give them the extra 15% base HP. So that means that they're going to be even tankier than they originally were. So MVP, they're just going to have to chew through more HP unless they decide to commit to killing off the Golem, which... If you put energy into killing a golem, let's be honest, that means that you're going to be missing out on some of your tools on killing those heroes. And actually, Jerax is going to be chased up by one of these golems. He's like, please, Mercy. He's trying to stun it as well, but it's got magic immunity. Man, the life of a Lina. It's not good.
Just trying to increase his attack speed as much as possible, but Chen can pull this back at any time. He has Hand of God and a very low cooldown. He's just going to pull it away. That's so annoying. Like, what do you do as Alina in that case? You try to right-click it for all you're worth, but you just can't. Tier 3 tower up towards top, going to be dropped to about half. Phantom Lancer pushing to the best of his ability in mid. We'll get a Tier 2 tower there, but racing this team is not possible. MVP are going to pop their glyph, delaying the push a little bit more. GGuard will continue on with it. Drop the Hand of God, drop the mech, hookshot into Forev. They're going to force staff him, double force staff him away from those cogs, so he's going to survive, but melee barracks unfortunately not lucky enough. They do have backdoor protection now active as the creeps have since died, and Phantom Lancer is going into a push in mid. Soonby doing some damage to the tier 3 tower, and they have to wait for their creep wave. GGuard maybe in a bit of a pickle, are going to get the Dream Quill onto the Viper. He's going to TP away, and he'll be able to make it back home. The lasso just a little bit too late coming out from Forev. Couldn't actually cancel that one out. Everybody else is going back mid to deal with the Phantom Lancer push. And although GGuard don't get barracks, they do find themselves with a tier 3 for just a little bit of damage on their mid tier 3. Well, actually quite a bit. In the end, MVP are going to be happy that they repelled that push.
Yeah, but the only thing is that they're just not getting anything else out of that PL. The PL, he tried so desperately to grab the middle tier 1 tower, but he just isn't, you could say, that scary yet. He's still lacking quite a few items. He just needs to be that little bit bigger, and then maybe GGuard, they're going to have to respect the PL, because PL, so good at split pushing. He's a good fighter as well, but you really want to have your Phantom Lancer, who, yes, he's sitting on about 1.9k HP going up against a Tiny with a base 289 damage plus anything extra that's going to be coming out of the Chen creeps. I don't think so, because your Phantom Lancer is going to be extremely vulnerable, and oh my god. Really? We've got the EE Summer Rune on our Tiny now, double damage, bottled up, and ready to go.
Yeah, Yamate is going to be hitting with cool plus 289 with that double damage. That seems fair. Just handing him a rapier that he can activate for 2 minutes. It's pretty cool. MVP are now in a bit of a pickle. And let's see, GGuard are going to swing up towards top with the tier 3 tower already down. They can very easily commit to the barracks if the backdoor protection is disabled. The creeps are getting cleared out pretty easily by MVP, but maybe they just go down mid. This is a 2.6k HP Tiny, and well, with that double damage rune activated, is hitting for 800 damage a pop. That's a lot. Winter going to miss the hook shot, splits right between the Lina and the Bat Rider, not going to end up finding a jump. But the melee barracks and the ranged barracks are going to end up falling as GGuard are now 2 racks up. MVP are trying to push out mid as fast as they can, but it's just not working out for them. MVP can't find initiation and can't find anything clean, and well, as much as they're trying, MP's pushing out top as fast as he can. GGuard should be able to defend.
Yeah, so GGuard, oh, actually, they will, yeah, they did lose the T3 tower, but they have to commit a Dream Coil to keep Ling in place. You know things have gone wrong when you have to use an ultimate to keep a Chen at bay.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. Link's going to be fighting up against this Necro Warrior, ends up doing alright for himself. Over in the sidelines, they look for Sunbi. Winter going to hookshot Yamate. Another fist bump hookshot. Is Sunbi going to be able to walk out there, or is he? Avalanche still on cooldown for a couple of seconds, and Yamate has lost his Aegis, so they won't chase any further for that PL. MP going to TP back to base after he's done split pushing, and well, for the time being, MVP are really on the back foot. Although the net worth advantage is not ridiculous, it's only about 6,000 in the favor of GGuard, and experience is completely leveled out. They have 2 barracks ahead. MVP are going to have to win a handful of really good fights in order to get this back into manageable position.
I think the Roche fights are going to be so key for MVP. Previously, they've had some good Roche fights, so I'm expecting MVP to say, okay, team, we had a good Roche fight last time. I'm pretty sure we can do it again. So for the moment, they just have to buy time for the Roche to come up, and then they have to get GGuard to try and go for that Roche. And that's when MVP, they decide to strike, or you can decide to grab the Roche yourself. They have vision, though, of Sunbi. There's Avalanche, there's a toss combo, Doppelwalk just in time, but that's going to be the toss, and that's going to be your Phantom Lancer down for 90 seconds. Buyback is available, but I think GGuard, they're just going to capitalize on it and say, okay, Phantom Lancer's down for 90 seconds, let's push. If we can force a buyback, that's great. If he doesn't buy back, we'll grab those Raxes, and that's going to be Mega Creeps.
Yeah, and at that point, even though MVP might be able to hold against the Megas themselves, actually winning the game's a different story. Hookshot in, catches out the Zeus in the backlines. Poor Keen, Force Staff out, is only going to buy him a little bit of time. Flame Break, and then into the toss. Yamate going to drop him like a rock. And, well, GGuard are going to end up pushing through mid. Straight up, there's no buyback on the Zeus. At best, this is a 4v5 if the Phantom Lancer buys back, and I think he needs to. That's buyback from the PL as GGuard continue on with pressure onto the tier 3, chunking it down with Tiny's Mighty Tree. And now they go for Melee Barracks. Melee Barracks almost already dead as they swap back MP. MP is going to be able to get the phase shift as they lasso up Tiny. There's just no damage going to Yamate, however, with the BKB activated. No PL. He's going to be able to turn Avalanche, toss the Bat Rider going strong into Jarek. Jarek is going to end up surviving as he's going to decide that it's better to go for some objective-based gaming. Sunbi still chasing forward for the Chen. He can't even get that kill. Sunbi now in a bit of a pickle is going to start making illusions all over Winter. Is on the backlines, the Tiny and the Viper are just going to town. Yamate's dropped pretty low. Maybe the Phantom Lancer can clean up this kill, but it's the cost of Mega Creeps at the very least. Range Barracks is going to survive on 119 HP. Yamate going to die, but the Viper is not very low yet. He's going to be able to bring down that Range Barracks as they look towards the backlines onto net. They'll focus down Laguna Blade into the Viper, but it hardly does anything. The Zeus Ultimate also really just does no damage. The Chen Creeps are still inside the base, but GGuard have Megas.
Yeah, so GGuard, they're throwing bodies at objectives, and what can MVP do? They're just not strong enough to, even though they can get these kills on GGuard, they just can't push. They just don't have the power for it. They can't fight against GGuard. So GGuard, they're allowed to throw their bodies for these objectives because they're not going to get punished for it. So now it's Mega Creeps. How does MVP come back from this? It's a very slim chance. GGuard are going to have a massive screw up for MVP to have a chance into taking, you could say, a T3 into T4s. It's such an uphill battle. Just having Megas, you can say super creeps at first. Yes, they're annoying, but you can still deal with it. Mega creeps, yeah, it's a bigger step. I don't know. I can't help but say it's just a lost game for MVP at this point. They just couldn't come online soon enough.
It took Zeus upwards of 7 Arc Lightnings in order to take down that creep wave. It's ridiculous. It's like his entire mana pool just to deal with one wave of these Mega Creeps. It's really hard for MVP, and honestly I don't think it's going to end up happening. They probably just should start considering the next game and what they're going to do for the next draft. Sunbi is going to have his heart pretty soon, and maybe the Phantom Lancer can end up taking these fights, but in that last engagement, GGuard are so tanky on all of their heroes, really. Even the Vengeful Spirit with an Aghanim Scepter and Power Treads is not the easiest for Sunbi to end up bringing down. MVP are going to smoke up, and this is probably going to be one of the last desperation moves of this game. If they win a fight here, they're still in it. If they lose, it's probably just gone.
They've got to make a move soon, though, because look at these Mega Creeps. They're just going right to town on the Moonwells, and then they're just going to start throwing the effigies and then the T4 towers. So this is going to be the last desperation move. What can MVP get out of this? They need something big. They've left the Phantom Lancer behind. They have Vision of Winter. They're going to try and jump onto the Clockwork, but he's going to force staff downhill. They will get net, though. There's Boots of Travels that's going to be bringing in the Phantom Lancer to Sunbi. He's going to go for the Doppelwalk. He's trying to jump onto Yamate or Ben. He's actually going to be tossed up into the air, taking a lot of damage. Sunbi got to be very careful. Stuck in the cogs. He will get cogs back. That's going to be the Phantom Lancer down. Durax in the Ghost Scepter form, but he will be finished up by Yamate eventually. potentially an MP. He's trying to finish up Ben. They will finish it with Heen, but the GG call has been called out. MVP. Unfortunately, they're going to drop game 1 to GGuard.
As far as raw mechanics are concerned and raw lead, it felt that MVP were still in a pretty comfortable situation that entire game, but in the end it was always GGuard to be the ones to make the aggressive moves, and a lot of that comes down to the supporting duo coming out from MVP never really getting any major momentum. The Lina and the Zeus, although they function decently as supports, when they have another one to back them up, they just didn't get enough experience, it feels. Either way, we're going to move on to game number 2. MVP's chances to get a cool $500 for just one series is going to continue. Let's see if they can bring this one back. We'll be here on GoSu TV 1 with GrandisV and Danelie coming up shortly.